Welcome, marvelous makers,
and art appreciators,
to the ArtSpace podcast,
brought to you by Lemon Street Gallery and ArtSpace,
located at 4601 Sheridan Road.
Stop on in to your local citrus-themed art gallery. I said local instead of favorite. I usually say favorite citrus-themed art gallery.
Well, look at you.
But that's my unique spin on it today.
Bum, bum, bum.
Your local citrus-themed art gallery. Every neighborhood should have one.
Yes, and I am your host, Shelby Nesbitt.
And I'm Jake Hoy.
And today we're going to be talking with the wonderful ceramicist or potter. We'll get into that later.
We'll figure out what it is.
Yes. We're going to be talking with Jean Wells today from Jean's Clay Studio. Hi.
Welcome, Jean.
Hello there. That was very impressive, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll shoot to maintain the level of impressiveness over the next 45 minutes to an hour.
Yes.
But no promises.
So how are you doing today on this fall?
The sun kind of came out later on.
Yeah.
So we're happy for that. We finally got some rain.
Yes, we'll take it.
If you listened last week, I was ranting and raving about how dry it's been. And now the rain is here and
It's
things
helping.
are greening up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jake did a little rain dance and
Oh, yeah. You don't want to see that.
But how are you doing on this still feels like fall day?
Oh, well, I don't think it feels like fall, but
It's kind of
doing
humid.
great.
Yeah. It almost
Yeah.
feels more like summer than it did, even though it's kind of cool. But
Either way, this weird weathered day.
It feels great.
It feels
but
great.
more importantly, you're doing well, right?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
Regardless of the
Right?
weather.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, well, that's good to hear that Jean Wells is doing well. So,
Oh boy, I bet you never heard that before.
But bump.
yeah. All right, so
Well, Shelby brought up accidentally brought up a question of, what do you consider yourself? A ceramicist, a potter, all of the above, neither?
All of the above.
Okay.
I generally say potter when I'm introducing myself
Mhm.
or a ceramic artist. Yeah, one of those two.
ebbs and flows. Yeah, definitely. I know when it comes to more functional wear, because I know you do a lot more functional pieces. You tend to push towards potter, and then if you do more sculptural stuff, you kind of push toward ceramicist kind of thing. So
Oh,
yeah.
I just learned something already. I didn't realize the distinction.
Ceramics is the big tent.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It really encompasses lots of different things.
All
So
pottery is ceramics.
all
but
pottery
not
is ceramic.
all ceramics are pottery. Okay.
Yeah, but
correct.
not all ceramics are pottery.
I'm learning.
Good one.
Right off the bat. Wow. So, just to kind of get people gauged on your artwork, how would you kind of describe your style of artwork that you create?
Right. So we've talked about functional. So I usually always say functional first. Or functional stoneware pottery is a brief description. And then I use real stylized drawings and sgraffito, so carving, and lots of color on my pieces. So I have a very graphically themed pottery that I create.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed that. Looking at your work, we have our little cheat sheets here in front of us, and
Yes.
it's just so beautiful. The stylized. I see exactly what you mean looking at it. If you had told me sgraffito without giving me any visual, I'd be like, what? Italian? Like graffiti?
Right,
What?
right. It's a great word.
Yeah. But now I see, and yeah, it's just wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoy it because it kind of feels like printmaking on the pottery with the texture that you create and the layers of color that you work with. I don't know why it reads to me so much like printmaking on it. So
Because
Shelby,
it's very similar. So the techniques are very similar. But I tell people when I compare it to printmaking, if you are familiar with like linoleum cuts or wood block, it's basically my pottery is the block or the linoleum sheet.
gotcha.
So I do an individual drawing and carving on each piece. I don't print anything. It's just all the original design.
I was about to say that must hurt your wrist over time.
Yes, wrist issues,
Oh.
fingers, shoulders, arms, elbows. Yep.
Oh, but each piece is a labor of love. I have a piece right in front of me, and it's my favorite mug at home. So
Yeah,
yes,
that's great.
yes.
Thank you.
So I've got one with the monarch butterflies on it. So, but yeah, it's my favorite
The monarch are the orange butterflies,
hmm
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I like to use the word stylized, because
Yeah.
it's, artistic license. It's
Yeah.
I have to keep things somewhat simple in order to keep them affordable and
Yeah, to produce the
to
amount that
produce them.
you produce. Yeah,
Mhm.
because seeing some of your shows, the amount of work that you have and the different series that you kind of run through, it's so interesting how you can do that on that level and just have so much. So yeah, you've got like a robot series, different plant series, a butterfly series. So you've had a lot of fun exploring.
Yeah, there's so many different directions you can go in, but I try to keep it focused and maybe introduce one new pattern a year type of
Okay.
a thing, but it changes.
Ebbs and flows, and if you feel like you need to move on to something new, you just kind of do it. So
Yes.
love that.
Exactly.
But you also certainly have like a style where like
Oh, yeah.
somebody can see a piece and identify it as yours pretty easily, I think, right?
For the most part, there are a lot of other people who do sgraffito, but most people who know my work can recognize my work somewhere else. It has a looseness about it, maybe a longer, what I would call stroke than from what some people do when they do sgraffito. Sometimes it's real tight and tiny,
Oh, yeah.
and I have a more fluid type of a movement. I believe in my stroke is how I would describe it.
I see it.
Yeah, I could tell you're confident when you're making those moves. You're not they're just consistent, long, continuous shapes, and that's hard doing that on clay. I've tried doing some things like that, and it always ends up small. So, and kind of like a scratchy texture and everything involved. But I love your work, love your process,
Thank you.
and love
Thank
your
you very
style.
much.
So
Before we move on, I have to point out that Shelby has the ability to make everything about printmaking, just like I have the ability to make everything about weather.
I'm sorry, it's my favorite medium.
It's a great medium.
Oh yeah, because it's again the wide umbrella, similar to ceramics. Printmaking has such a wide umbrella too. So, they kind of overlap at some point too, because you can even print on ceramics as well. So.
Yes, there's so many people doing amazing things. You need 9 lives to be a printmaker. I think you need 9 lives to be a ceramic artist.
Definitely, because and that's my difficult situation. I got toes in each pond, and I don't have enough time in the world to.
We've been talking to so many different artists of different mediums. I'm trying to find the one that's easy, and I think there isn't one. Because we had Sujit in here a couple weeks ago talking about watercolor, and I'm like, oh, well, that's the hard one. But then printmaking is really hard, and ceramics is really, and it's like, well, which one's the easy one? Which one am I going to do?
I don't
Shadow
want to say,
puppets.
shadow puppets. Maybe just getting into crocheting too. You do it. I think you do it.
You can tell Brenna that
No.
crocheting is easy.
No,
Pass
No.
test, Brenna.
no, I'm not going to tell her that because she's fabulous and does intricate sculptures and.
We love you, Brenna.
Yes.
Okay, let's get into our questions here. So, Jean, first question. How did you first get into art, and what are some of your earliest art memories? Take us back. We'll wind back the clock.
Yeah, it's fun to think about that. And so I was exposed to art in my home, right, as a young child. And some of my really earliest memories are of the art that was on our walls. So we have a family friend, grew up with a family friend, a Milwaukee artist, Larry Mykick. Unfortunately, he just passed away last year. A wonderful, incredible painter, illustrator, beautiful work. We have a lot of his work when I was growing up in my parents' home. And one other artist that we had too was a watercolor artist, Austin Frazier. Lived in Wisconsin for a long time. I think he was originally from Canada. And I would stare at both Larry's work and Austin's work. I remember like standing on the couch, and just looking at it. And Larry's work was very tactile and thick, and he'd use textures in his paints. And he would do abstract work, and he would also do I've lost the word that I want to use, but recognizable objects and things like that. But I really just would stare at it for hours and think, how did they do that? Like what? And Larry would put texture in, like, I don't even know what he did. I never had a chance to ask him. I should, because he was just a friend of the family. But like I was guessing maybe little pieces of cardboard that he would layer on and then put paint over it. I don't know. But I stood and watched, just fascinated about that. And then I remember the watercolor artist, I would really look closely to say, because he was really good at birch trees. And I would notice that
those are hard to do.
The birch tree there wasn't paint there. I was like, there's paint on the side of the birch trees. And then like the black and gray lines would be painted. There's just a lot to look at and think about as a kid. Those are my earliest art memories.
Nice.
That's fun. I have sort of similar, even though I obviously didn't go on to become an artist, but like I have similar memories of like specific works on walls that I like would just kind of stare at and like almost obsess over as a kid.
Like, how did they do that?
I just had more time on my hands back then. I could just spend like 30 minutes just looking at a painting. We used to go on vacation up north to Crivets, Wisconsin, which is in Marinette County, north of Green Bay. And there was an inn we would stay at every time, and we'd stay in the same room. And so it had the same piece on the wall. And I'm sure it was not like a unique piece. It was just something that they hung up, probably a print, but too young to know. But that thing I like memorized because I'd see it every summer for like a week and a half in August. And that was just like
the piece
ingrained in my head.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And like what stood out to you about that piece? Do you remember? Was there something about it?
It was kids playing in the field, and they were kind of like whipping each other. And this is probably like a mass-produced thing. It's probably on like 400,000 walls around the country. But it was just the movement of it was what got me.
So the movement of the
characters,
characters,
the children,
figures in the piece.
Yeah.
And just how their arms were like
swinging
twisted.
around.
Yeah.
That's weird. Kind of creepy too.
It was like an old timey thing. It was like settler times, and like when they didn't have like a video game system to play, so they had to go like play outside and like hold hands and like
fling each other around.
that was
Isn't
that
that fun? That's what you. You remember that, and it was an influential piece. I wonder who was the original artist.
We'll never know. The place isn't even open anymore. It's shut down.
A blip of a memory.
If anybody out there knows anything about the piece on room 16 at Schaefer Park Motel in Marinette County, drop us a line at the ArtSpace podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, missing connections. We're looking for a painting.
Not sure that's our actual email address. Is it just ArtSpace Pod?
Yeah, at the ArtSpace Pod
you figure it out.
Gmail. Either way, we'd like to know more if you know more.
Enough about me and my childhood motel room art.
Yes. We can kind of touch back into so your earliest art memory was with your art in your home and everything. When was the first time you kind of got into ceramics then? Okay,
so that wasn't until high school. I always loved art, as a kid, and but when I ended up, so I'm from Milwaukee. I grew up there, and I went to Pius High School, which has a really strong art program. It did back then when I went in the 80s, and had a really wonderful art teachers, Pat Frederick and Keith Boytine. And then it was the first time I had really got to try ceramics there, and we got to do the pottery wheel, and it was great. I loved it. Loved making sculpture and experimenting on the wheel, which is hard when you're in high school. Right?
Oh, yeah.
But,
I've never done it, so I'll take your word for it.
I always tell people it's never too late to take a pottery class, really, to get your hands dirty. It's really awesome to do it.
It's
freeing. I did take one
freeing.
hand building class with Betsy Davis downstairs a couple of years ago,
Gotcha.
but not wheel. Not there
Yeah,
yet.
great. Well, yeah, hand building is great because you can make something that actually looks good a lot quicker than you can when
I have a wonderful mug at home because of it.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about like hand-eye coordination and all these other things. It's just like, I'm going to squish this clay together and make something, and
that's
nothing's spinning really fast in front of you.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, but we had a visiting potter come. I think Pat had a friend of hers, and I remember his first name, Scott the Potter, but I don't remember, like what his last name was. And he was a poet and a potter, and he came in and talked about his work, and it was kind of right there and then that I was like, oh man,
This is the medium.
yeah, I want to be a potter. So it was in high school that I said, that's what I want to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then you followed through.
Yeah, I followed through.
Yes.
Went to art school and found an apprenticeship, and the path began.
Oh, nice. Awesome. And I'm glad you had the support system to kind of help you do that, and just the teacher supporting you, family supporting you. It's just amazing
It was
to have
great, and I really remember. I remember going up to Green Bay to the university to do a summer art class and learned a lot there. The Milwaukee Rec had a summer program. It was called Summer Street Studio,
Mhm.
and it was so much fun, and the teachers were really good. Have you heard of Tom Queoff? He's a sculptor from Milwaukee.
No.
He taught. He taught at the Summer Street Studio program with a wonderful guy named Caesar, who was just a stitch. But it just a lot of great art opportunities early on in my life just hooked me in right away.
It's so important to have opportunities like that for young people.
Yes.
It's play. It's really play and problem solving, and it's just a great way to learn.
Oh, definitely.
Mhm.
Yes. So, well, awesome. Moving right along into our next question here. Who are some of your influences on your artwork?
Right, that's a really big question.
Yes, mentioned a few already.
Yes. So early on, I've been potting. I've been back in Milwaukee now for over 30 years. So there's, I'm very connected to the pottery community and the arts community, and so all of my colleagues, and have former studio mates and people I've worked in buildings with. All of those people have been great influences, not only on my artwork, but just on the business side of art. I think early in college, what was nice about going to art school was that, I got to take art history class, and that was really eye-opening for me. And the teachers there were great. I majored in ceramics and minored in portrait painting, and all those teachers, William Berard and Judith Solomon were my clay teachers, and Jose Cintron was my portrait painting teacher. But all those people were really influential. And I really fell in love in college with Alexander Calder's work, especially his circus series.
Okay.
So if you have not heard of Alexander Calder's circus series, it's all wire sculpture and found object sculpture. And there's video of him playing, like he made hundreds and hundreds of pieces that move and twirl and spin.
Wow.
And he, as an older man, there's video of him playing with his circus. And it just blew me away. There was so much joy in his work and in just watching him interact. I started to do wire sculpture in college. I really, really love that. But I highly recommend looking that up. He's known for more of his big mobiles that you'll see. There's, one at the Milwaukee Art Museum and all over. That's what he's really known for. But his wire circus is the best.
This is required homework now for listeners. You have to look this one up. There will probably be more of this throughout the episode.
Yes, please.
That's your assignment.
Yes, go do your homework.
For sure. And I love to draw and paint, so I do kind of miss that. I did it in college, and I'd like to get back into that at some point.
Yeah.
I draw and paint on my pots.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. You're doing it.
Yeah, I'm doing it. It's just a little different,
Yeah.
So.
Take a break and just do a painting once in a while and freshen up that muscle. Because I swear I'm in the middle of trying to paint right now, and I normally don't paint. And going back to that, It is so hard. It's like riding a bike. Like you don't forget, but you gotta get into the rhythm again, and it's hard. So
It is hard.
Yeah.
There's a groove
Mhm.
that you got to find. Mm-hmm.
when painting, and
Mm-hmm.
even with pottery, I find that there's a certain groove you have to get into, and with pottery, you really have to like the process and everything because it is a very process heavy medium. So
Very
Yeah.
much so. That's a
Yes.
really great point. It's a
Yes.
very process heavy medium.
yeah,
And I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do. It's kind of nice to not, as a potter, you're like, for me, I like to create a wide body of work with, different imagery. I really focus on the imagery, but kind of, you could call it the monotony of the process
Mhm.
is actually a real nice break. And it's just fun and soothing, and
I'm on to this step, and you kind of know where things would lead to. It's
yes.
not like, all right, I'm at this step. What the heck do I do next?
Right,
Like you
right.
know what's next in line. So
Right.
yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
and yeah. So and there's points where you're like, man, I hate this next step, but I gotta do it anyway. So yeah, like
For me, it's the cleaning. So I do the sgraffito, and it produces what you would call burrs or something on the pottery. And there's all these steps throughout the process where I have to clean those off.
Oh.
And I use a stone at one point on the bisqueware. It's just awful. That's the worst part of it.
So the sgraffito. Okay, dumb question time. Here we go. You're
no, educate Jake time.
educate Jake time.
Yes.
You're actually like kind of like scooping out the clay in like rows, like that's
So
using
in
like
my
a tool.
yeah,
right?
I use a tool. I wouldn't call it scooping out. I guess you would call it scooping out. I feel
Carving.
like I scratch, like I do what's called more scratching.
Okay.
Like when you're doing a woodcut or linoleum, you're using super sharp tools, and you are kind of pushing it down
Yeah,
and in.
like gouging.
I do the
This is
opposite,
more-
and
okay.
I have duller tools
Okay.
because it would be too sharp for clay. So I use duller scraping tools.
So you're basically removing parts of
Yes,
the clay.
yes.
And that's where the burrs come out.
Yes,
along
yes.
those lines.
Especially once the clay pottery is fired, then it can be quite sharp.
So the scraping is after the firing. Oh no,
all before.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it'll be leather hard would be the state that it would be in when, or greenware when she would be carving it. So
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I always like that. The leather hard term
Mhm.
is very accurate.
okay, gotcha.
I noticed the
Is it
reaction
right?
when Shelby mentioned leather hard. She seemed impressed that you knew that term.
Oh yes, yes.
Well, I wasn't impressed, but I just think
Yeah,
it's just a
but-
great description because
Yeah.
most people know what leather is, and
Yeah,
I kind of like it's a really good way to describe the.
Because it has a weird. It still feels soft and kind of cold in that
Mhm.
state, similar to leather. It's not a rough surface, but
Right.
there's no resistance to it. Like it's not squishy.
Doesn't fall apart in your hands.
Yeah, so
Got
it's really describes that state pretty good. So whoever made that term, good
Yes.
job.
Bravo to them.
Yes.
They get the prize.
Yeah. So yeah, the carving will happen during that stage. And yeah, for me, I hate making handles. Handles are my step if I'm making a mug or anything. I hate pulling handles.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just my hands not used to the rhythm or something. It's something I still need to work on, but for me, I hate pulling handles.
Oh, you
Yeah.
just have to do it a lot,
Yeah.
and then you'll just get better, and it won't be a big deal. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I have smaller hands too, so
You
like
do.
I'll pull them really small for like they'll work for my hand, but then like say a normal hand, it'll just be like, wow, this is really tiny. And
Well, what is normal?
Yeah.
Oh, you just mean bigger?
yeah, like wider, so the handle will be wider. That's also why I like yours, is because like I feel like I can comfortably have them in my tiny hand. So like they're a really good adaptable size because my partner will also use this mug, and he's got larger hands, but it still works because the space that you provide. So yeah, there's an art to pulling handles.
Great handles, Gene.
Yes,
There
they're
is.
handles.
Thanks. Actually, I learned a lot of. My handles were kind of modeled after a colleague of mine who moved to Arizona, and it's not. I don't know if she's making pottery anymore, but Marnie Elmbaum. She was a Milwaukee potter for a long time, and I learned a lot of. I really liked her handles, and they were a lot bigger, fatter, and wider than I ever made mine.
Oh.
And so once I saw that and used hers, I was like, well, this is really I want something really sturdy
Mhm.
and solid and that feels comfortable. And so mine are a little bit modeled after hers.
Oh,
Mhm.
nice. Yes, you're A+ on the on the handles.
And a lot of people, if you know my mugs, I've been kind of making the same mug shape for quite a long time now because it just works for what I do, and my customers really love it because they can put their whole hand
Mhm.
inside the handle and wrap it around the shape of the mug. And so
The mug is sort of concave, I guess I would
yes, it's
say.
Yeah.
concave, and the people really love that.
Just the slight hourglass, it just nips in a little at the middle, so you can really put your hand in there, sink it in there. But
Yeah, both men and women like my
Mhm.
mugs.
it works really well for different hand sizes. So
Mhm.
yes,
Hence, that's why I've kind of been doing the same shit for a long time.
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix
That's
it.
Yeah.
right. That's right. It works.
Just change the outside.
That's
There you
right.
go.
And people collect it, then it kind of fits in their collection a little bit or so.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, nice.
Okay, well, we got another question. This one's sort of along a similar vein that we've been running in, but who are some of your favorite artists? And that would include local artists as well as just like famous artists that everybody's heard of. So,
Right. I've pretty much been locally centric, most of my life, nose to the grindstone. The people that I apprenticed with, was fortunate enough to find an apprenticeship like in 1990, I believe, in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, with a couple, Claire Berger and John Bailey. I was their nanny apprentice. So I wanted to do some wood firing. They had a wood kiln, and they had, I was actually trying to find an apprenticeship in Montana and living out there and running a daycare with a girlfriend of mine, another artist. And they were looking for an apprentice that could also be a nanny.
Oh,
And they had a wood fire kiln. So it checked every box. But no, they were a big influence on me and the way I make pots, and then their sort of sphere from back then. I don't know if anybody would know these people anymore, but Dave Trumbull and Lena Wells, they lived just over the border in Illinois, and then the potters from Cambridge, Wisconsin's a big pottery town.
it is, yes.
So like Michael Shale and Mark Skidlaric and Rick Lamore and Glenn Kutcher. There's just a really great group of people that mentored me over the years. And of course, I always say, all my numerous colleagues, so I'm in an organization called Wisconsin Craft. I've been in the organization ever since I moved back to Milwaukee. And it's artists of all different mediums, fiber, all those people, glass artists, they've all just been really inspirational. There's so many people I could list. But on another note, I was just trying to think of people that are kind of fascinating me right now. And so I recently just got to finally meet her in person. She doesn't live too far from here. Do you know June Ambro?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we know June.
We love June.
June's
Yes.
work is really fun. She's really experiments, and her work is so totally different from mine. She lets the clay speak.
Like she pulled it from the earth kind of process. Like,
It's just so wonderful that way. So I'm really digging, following June and her work online.
And her little bird, Blue, I think his name's Blue. Little
yeah.
blue
Oh,
finch,
yeah. And there's another Milwaukee artist, Rosie Petrie. She is a fiber artist. She calls herself a multimedia artist, which I would agree with.
That was the most confusing term when I started getting into art. Was like, what does that mean? It just means everything and nothing and anything.
You do a lot. You do different things and
Indecisive.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding. I'm teasing.
very much.
I really love fiber. Like if I had another lifetime, I would love to go into the fiber realm. But Rosie, I would call her main medium fiber, but she incorporates printmaking, and she's really, I want to say she's really up and coming. Should keep an eye out for her.
To get her on the pot.
Yeah, her website is I think it's thisisparadisehome.com.
Oh, nice.
I'm definitely going to check that out because I am intrigued.
Yes, more homework for you guys.
Yeah, that add that to the list.
Yes.
Yeah, really amazing person too, and really community centric. I would have to say.
Oh, that's
Rosie
great.
is.
Love
Mhm.
that. Yes.
And then the other person that I really am fascinated by right now online, it's kind of neat now that I didn't start right when I started. There was no online stuff going
Yeah.
on, so
Mhm.
now it's such a broader world than it was back then.
Totally.
But she is a newer potter, but makes incredible work and is really successful. Osa Atoy is, I believe, how you say her name. She's in Sarasota, Florida. She's a Nigerian American
hmm
artist. Her forms are so beautiful, and her glazing. She also does a lot of surface design,
Mm.
and she's really exploring now too, and kind of connecting with her roots and ancestry and historical African potters or African American potters, and
Right.
it's really fun to see. I don't have a whole lot of time to to really follow
Obviously.
people.
I don't know how
But
you
those
do
are
it.
the three that I'm real fascinated with right now.
That's great.
Mhm.
Keeping up to date with. So you've got homework. Check them out.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So let me see. Yeah, Osa, you can find her. She's Pottery by Osa, OSA.com.
Awesome.
Pottery by Osa.
Yeah. Shout
Easy
out.
to find.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, yes, we love shouting out artists and leading people down paths of inspiration and everything, and kind of acknowledging what's currently inspiring you or kind of challenging you in your work. And so that's great to kind of take a peek into that and what's going on. So
Yeah. Oh, and I think June I think she's on Instagram as like Orange Door Pottery US,
Oh, that's
Yep.
right.
something like that.
yeah, she's Orange Door, and I don't know if she has a website, but you can look her up as well.
Will
does
she
not
be at
have
the
a
art
website.
market?
I didn't check the list yet, but she was last year.
Indecisive.
Yes.
Show up and find out.
Yeah, she might be at the Kenosha Art Market.
This Sunday at Union Park in downtown Kenosha.
Yes, yes. So right around the corner, and
I know she's been there in the past. So
yeah,
that's the
I
reason
have a
asked.
feeling she signed up for some dates. I don't know if it
Okay.
was for full season or anything. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, we will see you this Sunday at the Kenosha Art Market.
Is that every week?
No,
That
just
is-
the third Sunday of every month, just June through October. So
Okay.
this is the first one of the season.
From
Okay,
10 to
once a
2.
month.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So nice little
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And makes it accessible to some people in terms of like having a longer day set and everything. Like we have people with like disabilities that can't do like a full day kind of market because that just takes out so much
It's
energy from
exhausting.
yeah. So we found that this is a kind of sweet spot where the energy's there and yeah, there's a lot of fun and we can get a lot done in that hour of just selling, meeting and talking and just sharing different artwork that we have. So we've got a wide
Nice.
range of mediums and I think about 65 artists at every market right now. So
Oh, do you help organize that?
yeah, so
Okay.
Lemon Street does, and
Okay.
then shout out to Brenna, who we talked about before.
The
with
amazing crochet artist
Yes.
who's running the
Okay.
market.
Yep, she is the market manager.
Oh,
Manager, that's
gotcha.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Great.
we'll definitely give you some more information about that later too. We have a little packet that we give our artists, our guests, and got some information in there as well. So
Okay, great.
Yeah.
peeling back the curtain.
And I snuck a peek at the forecast while
Yeah.
you guys were chatting for Sunday, and it looks pretty favorable. There is
Yeah.
a slight chance of showers in the afternoon,
Fix
but
that.
it might hold off. And otherwise, it's going to be nice and warm and beautiful.
Okay, good. So we'll see you this weekend. Alrighty, so we're gonna take a quick break and have some words from our lovely sponsor.
Hello, ArtSpace podcast fans. This is Joseph from Draw Joseph Studio. Most of you know who I am. I have this fabulous world-class draw studio up in Racine at the Racine Business Center, 1405 16th Street. My studio is real easy to find. It's on the first floor on the east side, right inside the tunnel. If you know the Racine Business Center, it's a big, tall brick building, and there's a big Von Schrader on the east side of the building, and the tunnel's right underneath the Von. So come in the tunnel, first studio to your right. And on every Tuesday afternoon at 5:30, the gates open up, and at 6 p.m., I have a model posing. You're invited. It's free. Tip the model. Hope to see you there.
And we are back.
Hello.
Thanks for sticking with us. Part 2 of our interview with Jean.
Yes. I'm making noise with the microphone, and I don't know if you'll hear that.
They couldn't hear that.
No way.
That was so quiet. I barely heard that.
I didn't hear it.
Either way. Sitting over here futzing with the microphone cable. Act like a professional. Jeez.
We're almost professional.
Yes.
We're getting there.
All right. So getting back into our line of questions here. Next one that we have up is, what is your motivation to create?
Big question.
Yes.
Yes, I mean that's, I just think all of us in a way just want to make things, right? I think it's inherent in who we are as beings to create.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us, at least.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think if people had a choice, what they could do with, no questions asked or whatever, I think people would be creative and make stuff, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
objects you use in your home or building your house or, building a bike, whatever. So yes, just the act of making is, I guess you could say, an obsession,
Okay.
a bit in a way.
It's nice to have a nice thing. And in order to have a nice thing, someone has to make a nice thing.
Yes.
Right. And I guess, so that's just sort of, I guess, the rawness of it. But I think in a way, what really motivates me, especially to be a potter that makes functional pottery, and maybe it's for all artists, is that connection with other people.
Yeah.
Because we don't make things in a bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially what I do, I make things that I want people to use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an intimate honor, I guess you could call it. It's a form of intimacy, a safe intimacy, where I'm sharing some of me, with you, and you can enjoy that, or whoever, you in general. I'm saying
Right.
people who buy my pots, and that is something that's pretty darn special.
Mm-hmm.
And I just get a lot of great feedback, and it's just nice to be a part of people's lives in that way.
I love that. Yeah.
So I guess for me, that is a pretty big part of my motivation of why I make functional pots
To
too.
have that, connection between someone in a kind of
Yeah.
more day-to-day sense. And
Yes. Yeah, my little tagline is enhancing your daily rituals.
Oh, I didn't know that. That is so
Yeah.
nice. Because
So,
it's my favorite cup. I use it all the time. So definitely part of my coffee ritual.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
It's
Just
like- Yeah. I always say art is like a form of expression. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a basic communication. So I think that kind of sums that up. Right.
yeah. And then when you translate that into pottery, there's something more intimate about pottery, because let's talk about what do we do with pottery, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or we eat off of it, right? We feed ourselves
Yeah.
and we feed others, right? I mean, like,
You put your mouth on it. You put your hands on it. Like,
What's more essential
Yeah.
than that? Like,
yeah.
right. I mean, so it's cool that way.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, awesome. I got a new perspective on pottery. Nice.
All right.
yeah.
Well, that asked and answered. All right. We're going to get into the fun questions here.
Yes.
So if time and money were no object, what's your dream project?
So if I think of clay, right? In terms of, I'm going to narrow it down to clay right now,
Mhm.
it would be, I would definitely want to work larger, I think, which is probably a common response, I'm guessing, that you get from artists.
Usually.
Yeah, like if a painter would be like, I want to do a mural. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Or studio space.
studio space. Oh yeah. Well, that's a whole nother realm. But if we're just talking art right now, I would like to. So I just recently, I did sculpture early on in my career, and now I do functional pots. But I just recently made a sculptural piece for an exhibition, Wisconsin Craft, our member exhibition,
Nice.
and it was so fun to do some slab work again. And I made quite a large piece, and just to be able to I still love carving and drawing. So I want to create larger objects that kind of mimic some of the floral imagery that I'm doing now and then carve on those.
Ooh.
I would love to do that. I don't have the space in my studio or the time.
Yeah.
So
What's an example of a larger object, like an urn, or I'm trying to think of like large pottery, like
Well, so I made sculptural forms. So I kind of one of my patterns is a bleeding heart, and the
Yeah.
bleeding heart leaves are really cool
yeah,
forms. And so I was trying to recreate the leaf shape of bleeding heart, and I did it in 2 pieces. And then I also created like a spiral fern sculptural piece out of
Yeah,
slabs,
okay.
and then I carved on it. So I'd love to do that. But again, if money was no object, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like I
time,
said
yeah.
earlier, I'd love to just take art classes in other mediums.
Yeah.
I totally would dig doing some wood.
gotcha.
Fiber and wood, I think are the directions that I would like to go in. Printmaking.
Mm.
I mean, I would spend the rest of my life just taking
Exploring.
workshops.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, just press
Right.
pause and go explore. Kind
Yes.
of. Yes.
And pressing pause, that would be another thing. If money
Yeah.
was no option. Taking a little break.
Yeah. Being able to take that break. Oh gosh.
I think that with this question, we ask every guest this question. I think the overlooked part of it is time is no object. Like
Yeah.
you can push pause, like you said, and just that's the fun part for me.
Yeah. Just take a break and learn and not so much do. And
Yeah. And the money part is like you don't necessarily need money to do what you want to do.
Right.
You need money to survive. So
Yeah.
hence the reason why you kind of have to do the grind of work, you
Right.
know. So if you took that out, it's just endless.
Well, awesome. I think that was the best answer we've ever gotten.
Wow,
Very
really?
good. Yeah,
Yes.
I like
And this
that.
is what, 42?
Yeah.
41.
41? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Jeez.
Because
Although we've had some fun ones in the past.
concert on the moon.
Music festival on the moon with deceased music artists.
Oh gosh. Oh,
Yes.
how funny.
That was when
I wasn't
we-
thinking that big.
We used to extend it to time, money, and reality as no object.
Oh gosh. Okay.
But yeah, because thinking about it, what you mentioned, a lot of people don't bring up the aspect
Yeah.
of time. So
Yeah.
that is really cool. So moving right along with our funny, cool questions here. What is the funniest comment or funniest story that you've heard about your artwork?
That there are a lot of funny things that happen, especially out on the road or at shows.
Yeah, being
And
at
customers
fairs and-
are stitch.
You
And,
never know what
like,
they're gonna say.
artists kind of have this little thing. Well, I know at some shows people have like a bingo card with like things people say on it.
Yeah.
And, like you kind of like check it off. Really. But no, I always there was a comment that someone made early in my career that always sticks with me, and it was funny at the time, but it has a lot larger meaning in terms of referencing what I do for my work. So it was back when I had moved back to Milwaukee. I was running Lincoln Art Pottery, and I don't think it was something of my work, but it was a pottery shop. And a customer came in, and they're looking around, and they picked up a bowl, a pottery bowl. It was all pottery in there, and they're just looking at it. And I'm standing there because I'm attending to them, and they're like, they said, "So what do you do? What do you do with this?"
What?
Right? And I kind of was like,
It's a bowl.
like that took me aback. And I was like, well, what do you do with a bowl? What do you do with?
Do you have one at
bowls?
home?
Yeah. Do you have bowls? I said, yeah. It's actually you can eat off of it. You can eat it in it. You can go in your dishwasher, microwave, and I guess you could put candies. I was kind of like stumbling over myself.
Are you familiar with soup?
Yeah, right. You can't eat out of it. And so I've also often thought about, why did that person ask that question? Like, is it because they felt like a handmade object or in a gallery or is foreign to them? Or can't be used. Or I don't know. I think about that still to this day, because everyone has a different perspective. And a lot of times I go through my day and I just assume people understand what it is I'm doing, but they don't. And or they don't feel it's something new to them. They've never had something handmade.
Right.
Or used something. And so there's that preciousness about it. And then, I mean, we could go on and on and on, I think, just about the whole meaning of a bowl, you know, a vessel, right, for nourishment and gathering, right? I mean, feeding multiple, you know, if you have a large bowl, you're feeding multiple people, right? I mean, it's just...
It's interesting. It gets into like the accessibility of art because like growing up, like we had candles in our house, but we were not allowed to light those candles because they were the decorative candles.
They have decoration.
So I could maybe that person was thinking like, oh, well, this is too nice to just put soup in. So what do I do? You know?
Right. And how do you get people past that point? Because I think once you have something handmade and you're actually using an object, it really it's a game changer. It has a different energy about it. It gives something back to you, I think. You know, it makes you think about something different, or it has a little wobble. So you know, I mean, there's something that's just very vibrant about using handmade objects compared to commercially made. So it's a good... I don't know if that was really funny. I mean, it was funny
in the moment. Just being like,
Didn't expect to have to explain bowls when you woke up that morning.
But it's good. It's really helped me stay open to, you know, the people I encounter. You know, and not take for granted.
Oh yeah, definitely. And having access to, like what Jake said before, having access to galleries and seeing things. Just being able to see those things and just know that they're welcome in those spaces, and the idea of eating off of something like that isn't a bad thing. Like, yes, there's some bowls that are purely decoration through glaze or something, but the idea of that and having access to that, so that kind of like opened up the world for someone possibly of getting connected with handmade pottery.
But it carries over, because like I can remember coming into galleries like this before I was, you know, sort of more into the art community, and just thinking like, well, I can't buy that painting on the wall. I can't put up, I'm not an art collector. I can't buy that. So it's like, I didn't even think about that before. But now that I am more familiar and I say, oh yeah, you can. I mean,
if
you have a wall at your house.
And you've got a wallet with enough money in it, you can buy it.
That's what it's for.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's taking that leap, and exposure is the key. Like, really, you have to be around it for a little while before you're like, oh, okay,
I could talk about this. I could purchase this. I can ask questions about this.
I could live with it.
Yeah,
it's being around art is really critical.
Definitely.
That's why you need to stop on by your favorite citrus-themed art gallery.
It's true. I mean, like, just sitting here, you know, like that painting right there in the gallery is, it struck me right when I came in, and it's so I can look at it while we're talking, and it's just a really nice piece. It's a really strong piece. I really like it.
And it's very
pointing at Christy's work on the wall, some clouds.
Yeah, Christy Matto.
Beautiful. We have cobalt blue clouds on a mustard kind of background.
She said she hated that color palette at first, but then as she kept working with it,
with the orange dripping. I mean, those colors. Yeah, it's just really great. It's a nice piece, Christy.
Listen to last week's episode to hear more on that. She was our guest last week.
Oh, right. All right.
Yeah. So, yeah, she was a little slow to that one, but ended up being like one of her top favorites in the show. So, it's very calming. It's very it's as weird as it sounds. It's like a comforting hug from people around you in the community, and it feels so. I love recording the podcast in the Brick Gallery just because, again, it's like a hug from our members.
Yeah, we're surrounded by
artwork. Yeah. So, well, awesome. I like the idea of breaking down that stigma of a gallery and everything too. That was talked about of just because it's functional doesn't mean that it becomes this untouchable item.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Art is for you.
yes.
Yes, you.
Yes. And you can touch it. You can eat off of it. Well, if it says you can eat off of it.
Maybe ask the
Not
artist.
all of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't.
Yes. So sometimes there's glazes that will cause cracks and cause bacteria to grow, and we won't get into that detail, but so yeah, there's some glazes that make it a no to eat off of. So we're moving right along.
Okay. Yeah. We're on our last question. Can you believe it,
Yes.
guys? Last question.
Getting to it.
Doesn't have to be the end of the podcast. We can keep chatting. But
Yes.
anyways, so Jean, what are some of your thoughts about the local art community? Strengths, weaknesses, what do we need to improve?
Is there anything you want to see being done, like events or anything like
And
that?
obviously you're based out of
I'm
Milwaukee
based
area.
out of
so-
Milwaukee, and so I've been back there for over 30 years again. I mean, I did grow up there, but then I left. But there's so many different communities in Milwaukee and art communities, and it is just thriving right now. So I mean, if you're asking for a critique of it, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I am a Milwaukee-based artist, but I'm more of a part of a statewide community, which is Wisconsin Craft, which I mentioned earlier. But there's like so much going on in Milwaukee itself. I mean, again, I wish I had 9 lives because I'd love to take advantage of that. So for me, community is critical. Okay, so not only for my work, but in my life, right? So I have chosen as a person who lives in Milwaukee to be involved in my community no matter what. So when my kids were little, I was involved in the PTO, right? And the school, and I love to do neighborhood things, right? The pottery community has really supported me, my mentors, and then now the people that I feel like I'm mentoring, the new people that are coming in. And then the broader art community, right? There's a big art community that's formed for people who do the show circuit, you'd call it, or art fairs. So there's that community of people, which ties into Wisconsin Craft a lot for me. And then there's like Marn has really come a long way. I've been, I think, a member ever since I moved back, too, and they really struggled for many, many years trying to
build it up.
How do we do this, right? It's just a bunch of artists trying to figure that out. And, they recently got some great fun. Really pulled it together.
And the
great
building.
board,
Yeah.
building, the hub. I mean, the St. Kate's Art Hotel. That is absolutely fantastic. The gallery's there. Curation is amazing. I mean, it's just wild what's going on. So, and there's all different levels, right? There's like the little maker market communities too now that are thriving, and there's just, it's
The
endless.
galleries are thriving.
The galleries,
And then
have
the
come back.
museum.
The museum is such a great anchor. And I love Wisconsin. I mean, let's name them, the Racine Art Museum, the Kohler,
Yes.
John Michael Kohler Art Museum,
Right.
Sheboygan, the new Art Preserve. I mean, MOA, Museum of Wisconsin Art, all the different museums in Madison. We were just up, our biennial was up at the CVA in Wausau.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Great place, so community centric. Bravo to these people up there,
Aw.
and the Pain Center and the Leiyaki Museum up there. I mean, there's just so much all around our state of little museums here and there that are just really big centers in their community. It's great. So I think no matter what you do in life, I think you should be involved in something. And if you're an artist, get involved in an art community.
Definitely.
It's just, it's
It's
how
another
you
support
grow.
system.
It's
Yeah.
how you grow and
Yeah.
be challenged and be inspired. And so
And we always try to tell people to get out of your bubble.
Yes.
It's easy to kind of just stick to just your little area, but like you just meant, all these wonderful places all over our state. These are all open and accessible to you as a marvelous maker or art appreciator. So get out there and pop that bubble.
Yes, pop the bubble. But yeah, and it's just thinking the scope that you were kind of scaling out to, and looking at it statewide, and then thinking about how much our government puts into arts funding is just ridiculous.
It's so
We're
sad.
last. We're
Yes.
last.
It's like, what is it?
14
cents
cents.
per person.
Yeah, that's
That-
the joke.
Is ridiculous.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
and being involved in the community and seeing all these things, it reaches a point where it's kind of just infuriating because you're putting so much effort and making these connections, and you really see that value, and it's just so frustrating because obviously they don't see it, and they're not investing in it. So I know a lot of other programs are addressing that on a legislative issue, and seeing what they can do to help all of that, because
I think communities and municipalities are realizing that now. It's just taking a long time for it to filter up through our government and to find funding for it, because it pays off immensely when you invest in the arts.
definitely.
Yeah, and we have to get it back again, growing strong in our education system, and it's life-giving. It is life-saving.
Yeah,
Yes.
100%.
So let's do it, Wisconsin.
Yes.
Yeah, please. Hopefully
Come
these
on.
stark numbers will serve as a wake-up call for
Let's
some people there.
invest.
Yes. That just baffles my mind that we're last, and yet we have all these fabulous people here, and it just drives me bonkers at the thought of all that. So
Well, on that note,
yes. So I know you have for Wisconsin Craft, you're gonna have the Morning Glory Art Fair. If you'd like to talk about that.
Yeah, I would love to. There's two events that a newer event, and our long-standing event, which is the Morning Glory Art Fair. This will be our 48th year having this fair.
Nice.
Our organization is actually was started in 1916.
oh my goodness.
So we're like 100 and, I don't know, 6 years old, 7 years old, something like that.
And I
but-
know you've done some rebranding along the way,
Yes,
and
we're-
name changes and
yeah.
everything to kind of streamline it, because starting in 1916, that's
Yes,
They probably didn't have a website
Association of
back then.
Applied Arts, I believe it was called.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Started.
and then evolved to Wisconsin
Yes.
Craft.
Mhm.
Awesome.
And so yes, the Morning Glory Art Fair, 48th year. It's our 4th year in the Deer District,
Nice.
in front of Pfizer Forum. So it's outdoors. We have 130 artists
Wow.
from around the state, and then I think 8 other states coming in for the show.
Wow.
All mediums. And it is August 12th and 13th. So the second weekend in August. It's free admission.
Nice.
So it's accessible. That's a big part of our mission, is keeping art accessible to people. So many people have never been to an art fair.
Right.
Come to the Morning Glory. Come downtown to the Deer District. It's a fun place to be.
Yeah.
Lot of
Spend the
fun
day
art,
up there. Yeah.
Get your butts up to Milwaukee in August, please.
I'm going to try and be there.
Explore.
I've missed the last, I think, 2. I haven't been able to go for a while, so
Okay.
I'm hoping to stop in on this one.
If you got time, I know August is busy time for everybody. And then we had started a newer event because we wanted to get, again, part of our mission as Wisconsin Craft is to connect artists in their communities. So, and a number of us were located in the Milwaukee area. So it was basically some of our members getting together to start this event, and it's called the Milwaukee Studio Tour right now. So like the pottery tours or things around, this is an urban studio tour. And so artists, a lot of us work out of our homes, some work in studio buildings and things like that. So this year, it's our 5th year doing the studio tour. And there's 22 tour stops. So it's in the boundaries of Milwaukee County.
Okay.
Okay. That's a
So
nice-
I'm the northernmost.
top.
I'm the tippy top in Brown Deer. It's still Milwaukee County, and then we go all the way down to South Milwaukee, Cudahy, or the southernmost stop, out to Wauwatosa. So it's a wide range, but all within a 30-mile radius, and it's the biggest we had. This is our biggest number of tour stops. 22. Probably impossible to do them all, but you could really try if you wanted to.
Yes.
Take it as a challenge.
Pick a neighborhood and stop at a few places. There's and then all those artists, most of the artists at the tour stops have guest artists. It was a way to bring more of our members in and to kind of have more of an attraction. So there's 58 artists all involved total.
Oh, nice. With 22 locations. Awesome.
And that is, it's generally the first weekend in October. This year it falls on September 30th and October 1st.
Okay,
so
gotcha. Well,
It'll be fall at that point. We want all you Kenosans listening out there. Take I-94 straight up. No tolls if you're going north
Yeah.
towards Milwaukee. Don't take Highway 50 to get out to the interstate. It's all torn up. It won't be done by September. Take 52nd Street or Washington Road. Take that out there and then hop on up. Go up to Milwaukee and
have
pay
a
them
day
visit.
trip.
Yeah.
I love these
Yeah.
little driving tours because like they're just so fun because you get a break, but in between you just sit down, drive, or like you can have a snack in the car.
You
and-
go into neighborhoods you've never seen.
Yes.
It's so the art tours are so fun, and so this is come along on this and drive into like even if you're from Kenosha, just do the 4 southern stops.
There you go.
Yeah.
and
It's like
kinda-
half hour away tops.
Yeah.
Like, not
Yeah.
even.
and it's a
Check
great
those
way.
people out.
Yeah, great way to pop the bubble. So
Yeah.
get out there and explore
Yeah.
and meet others in your area. So awesome. Well, so we're wrapping up this episode. Where can people find you online?
So I have a website. It's my business name, so it's Jeans Clay Studio. No apostrophe in the website name.
Right.
So, it's at jeansclaystudio.com. And then on there, I do sell online. So you can click through to my Etsy shop, Jeans Clay Studio on Etsy, Facebook and Instagram. My handle is Jeans Clay Studio, no apostrophe. So if you basically Google Jeans Clay Studio,
You're gonna find
you will find me. And then and to find information on the events for Wisconsin Craft, it's wisconsincraft.org for that
Awesome.
organization. So yes, and if there's any people out there who want to join our organization, please do. We're really growing right now. We're in a growth spurt. We're really trying to become a fully statewide organization. That's why we had our
Nice.
exhibition in Wausau, and
reach out, get
reach
involved.
out, get
Yeah.
involved in the community.
Well, awesome. We love that.
Now that's even more homework for you to do now. So
Man.
you're going to be busy.
Yeah.
Check back with us next week.
Yes. And hope you've been making notes along the way of all of your homework. And to top that off, we're going to also give the spiel of platforms and where you can find us. So you can find us wherever you get your podcast. We're on all the platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. We also have a YouTube channel where you can leave some feedback, like, comment, subscribe, all those things on those platforms as well. That would help us out a lot.
Yes.
And we always love feedback, so please give us that. And you can also find us on social media. Facebook is at the ArtSpace Podcast, and on Instagram it's at the ArtSpace Pod. And and we also have our Facebook group, The Marvelous Makers and the Art Appreciators, where you can stay in the loop and get to know what's going on locally, so you can post art events that are going on. If you have anything you want to talk about the podcast, I have questions for guests, we can maybe relay those. So it's just a fun place to kind of check in and chit chat about what's going on in the area, and a way to just connect.
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
When you say the area, what do you mean when you're
Ooh,
talking
good
about
question.
that?
Ooh.
Since I'm from Milwaukee,
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious.
You so anywhere from Milwaukee to Chicago is kind of our range. Being the home base in Kenosha, Milwaukee and Chicago are very flexible and doable for travel. Sometimes if it's from Milwaukee driving to Chicago, that can be a little,
Or vice versa.
yeah, a little stress on that, but
We cast a wide net.
yes. So
Okay, cool. Do you have to request to be a part of that Facebook group?
yeah. So you could just search it up on Facebook and you'll see it's a public
It's public, so
group.
you might not have to request that.
Yeah, you might not have to
Okay.
request. It's just an instant join, and I do a little bit of monitoring for spam stuff and whatnot. So
Great work.
that's been that's been fun. But I feel like if we kept that open to the public, it's more access and everything to the events that are going on. So yeah, definitely check that out. Get involved with the Facebook group. So the marvelous makers and the art appreciators.
Yeah.
I love
So
that.
yeah, so that I think about wraps.
Well, we want to thank
yeah.
our sponsor, Joseph from Draw Joseph. We
Yes.
want to thank Would You Kindly, who did our theme song.
Yes.
Everybody else that I'm forgetting, we want to thank you. Yes, you.
Yes, everyone
for
part of this.
listening.
Yes, we want a big thank you to everyone. We've been hitting some larger milestones on our like listening and amount of people that have been following us on YouTube as well. So we want to just take a moment to say thank you. I think we've hit like 2,000 listens on every platform right now. So
Woohoo.
yeah, we're doing pretty good. And
Congrats.
well, thank you. And hopefully we can keep that going. So I think that about wraps it up for
Yeah.
this episode. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Depression, addiction, the thrill that you seek. Our restlessness cages the fire we